Back in the 70s, Coca-Cola used to have a commercial that goes, I like to teach the world. And it was all these races of people.
I like to teach the world to sing with me. Perfect harmony, perfect harmony. I like to rock the world and keep it company.
The propaganda of this utopia. This is why that song, I like to teach the world, is singing in perfect harmony. It's like trying to get people to think that we as people are going to live in this utopia. And right,
it's like there's this need to convince. Remember the Black National Anthem at that football game? That's like the epitome of trying to purposefully make white people uncomfortable.
And sing by the Kansas City Boys Choir and the Kansas City Girls Choir.
With every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought.
There's one national anthem. We don't need two. This is what divides us.
this is Marxism.
This is it.
This is Marxism for you. And what it does is it slides in things to create a problem where there is no problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? No one cared about the. Look, I grew up on Lift Every Voice.
Me too.
I went to we were black kids. You know what I mean? You hear, I heard it in my elementary
We
school.
sang it.
We sang it. You know what I mean? And look, it's a good song. It's a song.
No knock on the song.
I'm
talking about
the song,
yeah.
but it was never.
They politicized it.
And and they purposely made kids sing it so that you can't boo
criticize
it. You know what I mean? And those. But you see what I'm saying? I know, like, black people. There are going to be black people saying, "Why are you defending those white people?" But you are trying to make them uncomfortable for no reason. These people came to watch a football game, to just watch a game. They didn't come here to be told that they have to that they have to. I don't even know what that was. You know what I mean? To look, black people are here. I don't understand. Like, these people know black people. You know what I mean? They're there. Probably half the football team is black. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't really understand why we're doing this.
Well,
you know
that's that. But see, that was my point.
Except for Marxism. See what I'm saying? The only other thing, this has nothing to do with uplifting black people. Black people don't need uplifting.
Yeah.
We need to be humbled. I'll say that. We need to be humbled for sure. But we don't need uplifting. We're fine. You know what I mean? It's just that you're putting these, and you're also making these kids think that their skin color is like their card to get ahead.
Also, because they're children, it's like you're starting them off early with a division mindset, right? Because they are young, and so they're already thinking that they are different from the other people in the country, which is the idea. So them singing the song, and again, no knock to the children, no knock to the song itself, because those two things are, innocent in the situation, right? Just a song is just children singing. But the idea of putting it at a football game, you know what I mean? Like, that to me, I felt like was to make things a bit uncomfortable, and they also politicized a kind of a song, an old song, right? They just politicized it, and they put these kids up front to push it. This is what creates division, in my opinion. I feel like this is what happens. This is the exact same thing as hyphenating African American. So this is the same thing, because now they're separate from the country. Now they're gonna feel I am different, and then in some cases, because it was such a big platform, this is where that kind of like I'm a queen, I'm a king mindset with black people. You hear this all the time. I feel like this is also what gives them that kind of like not humble, like you're saying, need to be humbled. Because when you are allowed to be on one of the biggest stages, right? The NFL, biggest stages on TV, and you get to do this, it does make you feel like you are
Mm-hmm.
different than everyone else, and dare I say better, in a way, or at least a protected class, you know. And I don't think that that's healthy. I think that mindset's not healthy. I feel like once we start thinking as just Americans together in this, then we're fine. Again, cultural differences will be there. We get that. But as a whole, we are just we are Americans, and that's what we should be.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's idolatry. It's
Yeah.
racial idolatry.
It is,
It's a
yeah,
sin.
it is.
You know what I mean? And God gives you to your sins, and it gives you to your sins because you can learn something. You know what I mean? They're not. You're gonna keep this up, and you're gonna get exactly what you want, and
Right.
you're not gonna like it.
Right.
I don't like stuff like this. Stuff like this makes
Yeah.
me cringe because it's
Right.
like you're saying that I, as a black person, can't do stuff. You know, I need help.
Hold my hand
Hold
through
my
all
hand,
this
make
process.
me feel good about myself. I mean, we look like
Yeah.
big babies, and I don't like stuff like this. It makes me completely just
Uncomfortable.
It just makes me feel
Yeah.
weird, like we're not capable.
Yeah. We're being babysitted.
And, but what we're really being used is being baited to worship our skin.
Yeah.
And not like worship God anymore. Like just worship our skin. We used to be a really God-fearing group of people. And now all we ever do is cry baby about stuff like this. And then you got Tom McDonald and you know, several people like him who are white, and they feel like they have to continuously keep saying that I'm white but not racist, and I'm American.
Yeah.
And the thing is that every time that's being said, which I think is a good thing to be said, it's just like that is the point. The point is they're trying to say is America is racist. Calling yourself American, and putting, you know, is inherently racist. And you pretending like you don't see color is just ridiculous. And of course you see color. You know, you're successful because you're white. And this is just, it just goes, and so the story goes. It just keeps going on and on and on and on. You know what I mean? And I talk about it only because I feel like from the black side of it, I feel like we're making fools of ourselves. But it's not just black people, it's women pretending like, I'll tell you, soon, 50 years from now, women will be asking for reparations.
Yeah.
Because men held them back.
Well, all of
this
these little protected classes are getting held.
gay people will do it, you know what I mean?
They're
It's
being
just-
handled with kids' gloves. They are. You know, even like LGBT community is. These women, these we call those feminist women are. Everyone's being handled with kids' gloves. You
race
can't
is a
offend
lucrative.
them.
I mean, race is lucrative.
It
If
is.
it wasn't for
Yeah.
all this race baiting, a lot of people wouldn't have jobs like Abram X. Kendi, all these people writing books about the 1619 Project. I mean, these people are making money off this. If this goes away, they go away. That's the reason why they keep it up.
Yeah. Yeah, keep up the rhetoric.
And all of these celebrities that play along with it, like they're all not rich, hanging around white people living in mostly predominantly white neighborhoods and gated communities. They do it because if they don't do it, they can't be a part of the big club.
Yeah.
And they like being a part of the big club. The big club is where you get all kinds of access and fame and money. And if they stop doing it, you know, Mario Lopez did a interview with Candace Owens years ago on PragerU when she had her show on that channel. And he talked about race. And he talked about gender. And he was right. I mean, he's obviously right-leaning.
Yeah.
But then he got pushback from Hollywood. And he literally made a public apology. And he never, ever, Candace said, I've never seen him since.
Yeah, he's
he
never talked to
will
her
never,
again.
ever talk to her again.
You see what happens?
And that's why he will prepare. I need to be re-educated. He did the whole thing.
Yeah, he
I'm
did the
getting my
whole-
mind right by Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is what it's about. It's all propaganda. It's just communism. That's all it is.
And then when you become a lot of white people end up being these apologists, right? They oh, you know, I you know, my people have scorned black people for such and such amount of years. Black people get pulled over and, you know, I mean, all the time, and I don't have to worry about this as a white person because of my white privilege. I'm like, white people, you gotta stop feeling guilty about this, okay? Like, there is no white privilege. It's not a thing. I think there's a lot of white people who do feel like, we've had a couple of them bite us. Like they feel they're inherently, like they've been told they're inherently racist because, you know,
I
they're
say
white.
get used to that.
And I'm like, you know
But
what,
it's
be okay
okay.
with it. Be okay with people being called racist.
Being called racist today is
Fine.
a badge of honor. You know how many times people call me Uncle Tom? Do they even know what Uncle Tom, you know,
Right.
Josiah
Henson.
who he was? He was the courageous man you've ever met.
We
You
get
know
called
what I mean?
we get called misogynist
When someone calls me Uncle Tom, I'm just
What?
happy they're calling me that because I know that I'm on the right
My
side.
side, yeah.
Because these are people who are just, they don't have a fight.
Yeah.
They don't have an argument. All they have are name calling. And if all someone ever wants to do is call you names, it's because they don't have anything else. You know what I mean? And so that's just it. When you make people accountable for themselves, they don't like it. It's a lot easier to sell victimhood than it is to sell get up and get to work.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just a lot easier. But when our country was doing that, even when we were in the most racially divided time in our history, black people were at their best when really white people were kind of at their worst.
Yeah.
As far as socially.
Right. People at the time were just moving forward. They weren't thinking, oh, the black people are being so, the white people are being this way. They weren't thinking like that. It's like now we are just thinking black and white always. Like it never ends.
And you
It's
can't
always.
pass laws to make people love each other.
No.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just like all these like white kids that walk around. I mean, pretty soon TikTok will have this thread of white kids trying to sing "Lift Every Voice."
I know.
Honestly, I like
That's
black
coming.
people. You know what I mean? Most white people, it's not that they don't like black people. It's just that they're just Americans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now they're feeling, especially like young whites, they feel like they have to do extra stuff
Yeah.
to prove that they're not a part of their like parents' class.
They have to
Or
march
their
with us.
generation,
And,
like, oh look, I can sing "Lift Your Voice" too. That's what I mean. Racism. You know, we're not into that. We're not gonna. You know what I mean? It's just it's not. The laws are making them do it. Not it's not coming from their heart.
It's true.
And when you really like someone, the law really has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Coming together just means just that. You have to come together. You can't tell somebody, I'm going to make you.
Yeah.
This is why a lot of reasons why segregation before Jim Crow, before we got integrated, a lot of black people don't want integration. The reason why is because I don't want to be forced. I don't want white people to be forced to like me. You just like me or you don't.
Yeah.
But I don't want black people to. I don't want to be forced to like anybody that's black.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
People come to their senses when they get to know who you are. The people who don't, like black people and white people who don't like each other because of their race, is because they really don't know any. Or they had a bad situation with one.
Yeah. That's true.
But most people who run their mouth about hating white people or white people to run their mouth talking about they don't like black people, they really don't know any. How many Klans members do you think know
That's
black
another
people?
thing. They always go to the
don't.
Klans member thing, though. I'm like, how many Klans members do you even know?
But even those people,
come
Grand Dragons, have become friends with black people and left. Why? Because when you get to know people,
someone. It's true.
you know, when you get to know people, I was watching a video where this lady where this man was actually he was a part of the Klan, and he was just a regular blue collar guy, but he stopped in a town where he just went to a restaurant and the waitress was black, and he was there and he kept going back, and I guess they kind of talked. They ended up being his wife. He lost his family. His family were all part of that. You know what I mean? But when you get to know people, you get to know them, not their skin. That doesn't make sense. This is why I don't get lost in that. All white people aren't bad. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I think if people don't take the opportunity to get to talk to someone or get to understand other people, people just assume the worst and just don't want to, talk to each other, and so like that couple you were talking about, like they when you let down the barrier and stop having this armor up, that's when everything just kind of like drops and everything goes back to normal. What's interesting is that when I'm talking to conservative people and just in general, it doesn't matter what race they are, the conversation is never about race. You ever notice this? Like the conversation is never about race, ever. Like it's just or it's fleeing. If it is, it's just kind of like a fleeing thought. No, but mostly it's just kind of like, values, maybe some political stuff here and there, but never really a hard like stance on race. It's just kind of, we just talk as people. But when I'm talking to like a liberal person or like, it's like it immediately, that's what it starts with. I feel like it starts with the race talk. Like it just immediately, there's acknowledgement of the fact that I'm black. It's
whenever there's like division and whenever race comes up in a big way, there's always like I don't mean to sort of compare his video, but back in the 70s, Coca-Cola used to have a commercial that goes, "I like to teach the world," and it was all these races of people.
I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love. Grow apple trees and honey bees and snow white turtle doves. I'd like to teach the world to sing. Sing with me. Perfect harmony, perfect harmony. I like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company. That's the real. I like to teach the world to sing. Perfect harmony, perfect. And I like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company. It's the real.
And they're all holding hands. They're African and Native Americans. And now his video looks the same. Mm-hmm. He's got all these different, and whenever people feel
like they have
like
to explain
they have to,
yeah.
or
not explain, but
whenever they feel like they have to prove
that they are,
then we start finding all these different people from.
We
everywhere.
don't want division. See,
right.
See, we don't want division. We have all these different types of people over here.
It was the far left
yeah.
doing that back in the 70s. Now we have the right wing people doing that because they feel like it's like the pendulum starts to.
You don't have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I like this song. I get the message. It needs to be said. Got it. But I'm saying, just like in a normal outside of music, you don't have to apologize for anything. You don't have to prove that you have more than 2 black friends. If you only have 1 black friend, doesn't mean you're racist. It's like it's like there's this need to convince. You know, to convince people that we are the same. We all bleed red. That's always we all bleed red, and we're all American. Yeah, let me tell you, the people who are making you feel uncomfortable about that know that. By the way, they know all of that stuff. They get that they get that. They just want to make you feel uncomfortable. This is why we're saying, be prepared to be called racist. Even just don't care.
Yeah, even John Lennon's song back in the 70s, Imagine, was the same way. Imagine there's no, heaven. Imagine there's no. This is the idea of imagine if there was nothing that separated us.
Yeah.
There was no religion. Yeah. There was no borders around our country. We were just one big
world.
And the thing is that.
Right.
I feel like people do that because, the same with Tom McDonald in this video.
Right.
I think that people do that because they want to prove that they're the same.
Right.
And every time we try to prove that, we get more divided.
No.
Because people just look at it like BS.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the truth is that, when I look at a white person, I can see that they're white. I don't think they're better than me, though.
No.
But the truth is that, look.
Or superior in any way. I
right.
don't think so.
The more, it's just like we like to think like there is this like oppressor.
Yeah.
And that all these other people are under this umbrella of oppressor. But the truth is we've all been the oppressor.
Right.
And we've all been oppressed throughout history. No one is clean or washed clean of any sort of slavery. We've all been the hammer or the nail.
No, I would say in today's society, especially with black people, I think that they're oppressing themselves. There's a lot of people who just really are afraid to say certain things because you're going to be called racist. Oh, well. Or transphobic. So what? Homophobic. Who cares? If you're not that, and you're not saying it, and you're not doing anything to harm another, you're just having an opinion on something, then they can call you whatever they want to call you. They can call us whatever they want to call us. We don't care. We really don't. So
actually, I think there are more people who think like us than there are.
Oh, there are.
There are just more people that you wouldn't think so because the liberal media has taken over all of the media. So everything you see on TV or on the platforms, it looks as though there's more of them because they own more of the content. You know what I mean? But I think that even in the black community, there are more people that probably think like us.
Yeah.
Than they're willing to admit.
Yeah.
And communism, it sells the utopia.
It does.
So it sells this, and it has for years, and tens of millions of people have perished because of that utopia.
Yeah.
Because someone always has to be in charge, whether it's Pol Pot or, Mao or, just any of the communist leaders that we know of that are destructive. Tens of millions of people have been massacred over this because that's what it actually gives you.
Yeah.
But how we're able to get into those positions is through the propaganda of this utopia. This is why that song I like to teach the world is sing in perfect harmony. It's like trying to get people to think that we as people are going to live in this utopia. And what they don't tell you is that people are flawed. We aren't going to think the same way. And they don't put in human nature when it comes to communism.
No.
When they try to sell it.
No.
They go, we're just going to build this utopia where everybody gets paid the same and there's no differences in black and white people and women, we're all the same and there is no difference between men and women and it's just like gay people are just like straight people and it's just like, you know what I mean? It's just
like a massive brainwashing.
It's just like this whole thing where we're just all the same. And then the countries who have done this has nothing but famine and destruction and murder. And it's because people don't think the same. That's why there can be no utopia. I don't like every black person. I don't like every white person. But guess what? Not everybody likes me either.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing. We have to get okay with not being liked.
Well, that's the point of us saying,
I'm okay
though,
with not being liked.
yeah.
If you don't like me because of what I'm saying, that's okay.
It's okay.
You don't have to agree with me. That's the greatest part. Actually, that's the greatest part about being an American is we can have an opinion,
We can say
and
this.
that's okay.
We can
In a
talk
lot
about
of
this.
countries, you can't have an opinion. You certainly can't have it. You can't have it publicly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that is the point. But we're moving very close to people being censored. Well, we are being censored. Being censored or being told that they're losing their jobs, getting their kids taken away from them because they don't like the transgender, or affirming your kids' gender when they're 8 years old.
Right.
You know, things like that. That's communism.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's a manipulation of, rhetoric. Because I do think that what happened to the black community, particularly when we owned businesses back in the Jim Crow era, is because of rhetoric. Rhetoric is, of all the 60s, Black Panther, all that rhetoric changed us into this sort of protest people. And we just never stopped doing it.
No, it's got bigger.
It just got worse and bigger. And by the way, the black BLM ladies, they're communists.
Yeah.
They're, they
Marxists,
say they're trained Marxists.
Marxists.
And they were trained Marxists. So again, don't
But
think
even though those three ladies were able to get that kind of follow, think about that. Those three ladies were able to get that type of following. I mean, like, it didn't happen. It wasn't like that took a long time.
they go where they think there is chaos, and they put their, because they do it on the right too. If they find like chaos on the right somewhere where Republican people are lost their mind, they're just mad, they interject themselves there too. They go where there's chaos so they can create division.
Yeah, or where they can find easily manipulated people, like college students. So they always go right to the college.
People haven't lived life.
Yeah, they always go right to the college students. Go right in there because they're ready to march and have any kind of movement.
I'm just not buying it. That's why when I was looking at what's his name, Tim Black. I'm like, Tim, you're making no sense. If he lived in the same neighborhood with these black people and he was just as poor as they were, and he couldn't get it, his father couldn't get jobs, and all this, right? Then what are you saying?
Yeah.
Because what you're mad at is that you're looking at this white guy that had a hard life. And you don't want him to have a hard life.
Yeah.
Because if he has a hard life, then we are the same.
Yeah, and he doesn't want that.
And I must make him still superior even in his poverty. Because if he's not, if there's no white privilege, then I'm just a big baby.
Well,
crying about nothing.
People got upset at a lot of black people got, I won't say upset, but they highly criticized Oliver Anthony. Is that his name? Yeah. Oliver Anthony's song is at Richmond, north of Richmond. They highly criticized him for that because a lot of black people, their opinion was that this white man with his white privilege, poor or not, does not know what it means to be black here in America and we spoke out about that because we were like, no, okay, so here we go again. Like, he's not allowed to have a hardship because his skin color doesn't warrant that.
Yeah.
So when black people hear that white people are having a hard time, it pisses a lot of these militant black people off. Like, no, we're the only ones supposed to be having a hard time. What do you mean? You shouldn't have a hard time. You're white. Well, guess what? People have hard times.
My grandmother,
it happens.
Our grandmother is white and our grandfather's black. My grandfather lived a much prosperous life than my grandmother was poor and white.
She was poor.
I spent every weekend with my grandmother, Danielle and I. We spent every weekend when we were children. But my grandmother did not have money. She was very poor. In fact, she had to work even after she kind of retired.
It was our grandfather.
My grandfather lived in a white neighborhood.
He lived well.
He lived well.
I mean, now you're saying that, I'm realizing that maybe that's why we don't form an immediate opinion about white people.
I think just my grandparents were from the Jim Crow era. They got married in the Jim Crow era. They became Catholic because that was the only.
They couldn't get married in Indiana.
You know what I mean? And so my grandmother told me all kinds of stories about, she couldn't find a doctor to
real oppression, guys,
because they found out she was married to a black man. Black people didn't like her because she was married to a black man. My grandfather was a musician, and he couldn't go through the front doors of the places he played, but she could. You know what I mean? And things like that. But it's just like, even after they divorced, my grandmother didn't live some lap of luxury. She lived in a black neighborhood for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
And my grandfather lived in a white neighborhood for the rest of her
Isn't that
life.
weird?
And my grandfather he got remarried. My grandmother didn't.
Mm-hmm.
To a black woman.
Yeah.
And they lived in a white neighborhood and living
Right.
really well. I think when life is tough, I think you do your best.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I do. I think that because it was so hard for black people, they worked hard.
Yeah.
But I think when everything became about coddling, we became lazier, and we became more crying about everything, and nothing's. We're being spoon fed all the time with affirmative action.
I think it's embarrassing.
I do.
I'm embarrassed by it.
We were much more.
We're stronger
like
than
even
this.
when you talk about
We're supposed to be.
abortion, before abortion, women were much more choosy. Even before the pill,
Right.
women were much more choosy. And one might think maybe if we never had these things, we'd still be choosy women,
Right.
finding better partners and living out marriages longer than 10 years. You know what I mean? But then you add the pill, you add abortion, and then women just leave whenever they want. You know what I mean? And men just think they can just do. You know what I mean? It's just
There's too many conveniences.
when we get too many conveniences, right?
Too many conveniences that put us in the position that we are in right now. Right. My thing is that I think that when you have values and moral standards and like obedient to God, I do think that the world runs smoother that way. But you see when we got rid of all of that, that's when it started. That's when you see now. I'm not even surprised at it, to be honest.
We always think someone has it better than us, and no one in the world is immune to the hardships of life.
Right.
Nobody.
Let us know what you think about everything we just talked about. Let us know. Leave some comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. And we will see you guys next week.